What's going on, everyone? Back again with another video here. I know it's been a while. You know, life is life, and stuff is just busy. So, first things first, I'd like to thank CRTK for tagging me in another video. It's been a while. I'm trying to remember what the topic was. I think it was something about, you know, can't bring it with you, or kind of how you got into collecting, I think. I don't know. I'm sorry if that's was not the question or whatever, but I just, you know, run through that a little quickly. I got some pickups here on the stool there. Show it to you. And one thing you probably notice is there's a big hole in the wall here that used to be occupied by the Excelina 2. I actually sold that cab to a good buddy of mine on the well, locally, and it's actually set up right now at the Gaming Underground or Game Underground arcade in Natick, Massachusetts. So if you're in the Mass area, and if you're not too far from Natick, they just opened a new store. They've got a couple of Blast Cities, a Big Red, my Excelina 2 that is now, you know, belongs to a friend of mine. And yeah, so if you guys want to play some candy cabs in Mass, that's a good spot to do it. It's right in the Natick Mall, right next to the Cheesecake Factory. Anyways, so in a couple of weeks, well, let's just say next month, I'll have a surprise for you guys, and I'll definitely be posting a video. Good buddy of mine, Chris over at Windy Gaming, has come through, and I'll leave it at that. We're gonna see some cool stuff next month. So let me just talk some pickups here, and then I'll get to, you know, the whole talk portion of the video. So let's just take a quick walk over here, and I'll unseat the camera if I remember how to do that. And the tripod here. There we go. So then we're handheld. So today, actually, I picked this up off of Amazon. Can you believe it? It was like $40 shipped. Description said card only, never been inserted, and sure enough, I get a complete copy of Magician Lord out of it. And I had a hunch, because I had heard some things about this seller on Amazon, just selling complete copies as cartridge only. So yeah, I have it in the Neo Candy right now as an MVS cart, and I've been enjoying it so much. I like the music, everything, and it's actually had a visit from an old friend, and she was saying how her father, she grew up in Florida, her father actually was like a salesman of sort at the time, and he was, you know, selling Neo Geos essentially, or selling people on the Neo Geo stores or whatever. So she actually grew up with the Neo Geo back in, you know, 1990 or so, and this was the game she had or whatever, and I had it on the cab at the time, so we were playing that. And yeah, just too funny how, you know, every once in a while someone you know will actually know what a Neo Geo is. So yeah, so I picked up this Magician Lord. It's got some creases and stuff, you can kind of see in the bottom right there, some damage or whatever, and they actually recased this because you see the UPC says Riding Hero, and no one wants to play Riding Hero, so they must be kind of reboxing them for Magician Lord. So that's cool. It actually came in this box here, which is kind of cool in itself. It's an old TurboGrafx stock box or whatever. I'm sure this was like filled with multi-taps or whatever. So it's pretty neat. I'll probably, the hoarder in me can't throw this box away. I'm gonna have to use it for I don't know, spare parts and stuff in the closet. and see my other boxes that I'm hoarding there and packing supplies. But yeah, kind of random, cool, you know, and for TurboGrafx stuff, yeah, just totally random. Anyways, so Magician Lord, so my home cart library has grown by 1. I'm up to 6 games at this point, so that's kind of cool. Let's put that there. And going back a ways, I finally picked up a copy of Zedblade for the MVS, and it actually came in a ghost cart, or a rental cart. And this had a label on the top that just had that generic English label, said Zedblade, and sure enough, take the label off, and I couldn't quite get it perfect, but it's the old Japanese label for the game, so pretty cool. Enjoying that a lot. Pretty cool shooter on the Neo. And one thing might not be totally obvious is I changed the I swapped the panel out on the Neo Candy 25. So I did have this one on there, which is something somebody made a long time ago, so people could play Street Fighter on the Neo Candies. And so kept that. Found an eBay seller selling stripped out Neo Candy parts, and I don't know what to do with this. If anybody needs this thing, let me know. But let's see, look at the condition of it. Took that out, so I don't know what to do with this thing, but man, gross, really gross. So I sat there with a Dremel drill and polished this guy up and put it on the panel that was there. I just took the overlay off and metal part, polished her up. So I'm back to yeah, 2 lever 8-button panel for the Neo Candies. So because I'm just enjoying having this, you know, totally stock. And yeah, the Street Fighter layout was kind of bugging me, as you know, for the Neo Geo games I was playing on it. So glad to have that panel. And last but not least, I picked up a Super Street Fighter 2 Super Turbo board. This is so much fun. Playing it on Turbo 4. Lots of fun. Me and my buddy were playing, you know, come over and we just play like 50 matches at a time. Just hilarious, fun times. So, fortunately, it's not. I had it set up in the Namco, but again, next month, guys, I'll show you what's coming. So, yeah, this is an original board. Picked it up on the forum. It's on battery. Battery was just replaced. Hasn't been Phoenixed or anything like that. And yeah, awesome, good stuff. All right, guys. So another thing that I am in the process of getting my head around here is it's hard to see, but this room is 100 square feet. And if you made it this far, I can tell you that next month I'm getting 2 Blast City cabinets. So I'm gonna have them 4 along the wall here. Got a little extra room here, I've measured it out. I've got a bunch of space there. I'll move them all together tight. Astro, Neo, Blast, Blast right there. And in this corner, it's got a card table set up. I might set up a mini TV stand and a CRT there. And over here I just got stuff in this old antique like china cabinet or something. I don't know. It's not really mine. I've just kind of commandeered it. So it actually belongs to my sister or my mother or something. So I might get rid of this and maybe put another CRT or something there. And along the ceiling there, I might put up a shelf going across the walls there to just put up PCBs and, you know, games and stuff. So it'd be interesting to see how much video gaming arcade stuff I can fit in a 100 square foot room. But these are the new digs, and just trying to get it all settled up. So anyways, I might just put this here. So anyways, back to the tag video. Again, this is going to be kind of an everything sort of video. CRT UK was talking about, you know, collecting and getting into the hobby and stuff. I believe, I think he tagged me about 3 weeks ago, so I apologize if I'm not remembering that correctly. But I've been kind of actively collecting since, well, I don't know, probably well, since the mid-90s, let's put it that way. When I first started video gaming, you know, I had a Nintendo, the 3-in-1 cart, which was, you know, the track and field, Duck Hunt, and Super Mario Brothers. And it was my sister's system, and I was young at the time, of course, I was a little kid, and I didn't even know that there were other games for the Nintendo. I was that young. In the back of my grandparents' house, there's an old Zenith television with Atari 2600, bunch of games, probably like, you know, upwards of 30 games. It's like what all Ataris were, you know, everybody had an Atari with 30 games. So I actually had a ton of fun playing that, and preferred that because, I mean, Super Mario Brothers just kind of got old for me back then. So anyways, so I went over, you know, a friend of my sister's house. They were taking care of me, kind of babysitting or whatever, and I saw that she had all these other games for the Nintendo, like Super Mario Brothers 3 and, you know, all this stuff, and it, you know, I was just amazed. So I started looking out for games, and you know, just kind of, you know, really got interested. So I remember going to Sears at the time. This would have been like early 90s. And back then Sears had like a really good video game department, and I saw a Sega Genesis there, kiosk, and I was playing Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and Golden Axe on the display, and man, that was something else. So I saved like everything, you know, like little kid money. I mean, I didn't have an allowance or anything, so like I literally rolled change until I had enough money, $200 worth of change. It took me like all summer, winter, everything, and rolled it in an old coin sorter, and walked into Sears and bought the Sega Genesis with $200 of, you know, hard-earned kid money, you know. Brought it home, and it, you know, needless to say, playing Sonic the Hedgehog just totally blew my mind, and I was a Sega fan ever since. Couldn't, you know, wasn't really much going back to Nintendo at the time. But on the other hand, kind of later, when the Nintendo started to get phased out everywhere, you know, like it wasn't even being sold in stores and stuff, you know, friends of mine would get, you know, kind of hand-me-down Nintendo collections, and started playing a ton of Nintendo games that way. Games like, you know, Russian Attack, and obviously Super Mario Brothers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Contra, Duck Hunt, all those games. And actually, shortly after that, I discovered Funkoland, which was one of the precursors of GameStop. You know, GameStop bought Funkoland, you know, Babbage's, Software, etc., and all these other game stores. But Funkoland was the best one because they used to have just a wall of Nintendo games, and on their front counter was like this broadsheet price list, and it was kind of like the kids' stock market. It was like Wall Street Journal for, you know, kids. And there'd be price lists of everything, and you know, you just kind of look and you say, what's that game? I can afford that. It's, you know, $2 or something. Pick it up and bring it back, and that's how I started to get a lot of my own Nintendo games. This is after I bought the Genesis, and just amassed, you know, a little collection that way of Nintendo games because they were so cheap at the time. You could get anything on the Nintendo for less than $10 at Funkoland. So, you know, Sega Genesis games, you know, Christmas, birthdays, here and there, Nintendo games, I would pick up at Funkoland like every, you know, 3 months or so, because the Funkoland was right next to a BJ's. Anyways, so the parents went to BJ's, they dropped me off at Funkoland. I'd read the broadsheet on the front counter, come home with a couple of Nintendo games, cleaning kits, all that crap. If you remember Funkoland, you know about the cleaning kits. But yeah, so that was kind of the very beginning, and then I got really into Nintendo, and then I started wanting to get into Master System because I figured out that Sega had a console before the Sega Genesis. And, you know, early 90s or whatever in America, Sega Genesis was Master System was impossible to find. And, but I was a Sega fan and I wanted it. So it took me forever to actually find one. And on the same hand, TurboGrafx 16 was completely unknown in my neighborhood. You know, I actually, you know, met one person later, you know, maybe year 2000 that I knew that actually had one growing up. But when I was growing up, I had no idea of its existence. And the first time that I actually, you know, figured it out was when I read Electronic Gaming Monthly's issue 100. It was a great issue. They, you know, it came out in 1997, and they compiled like their list of the 100 greatest games up to that point. And you know, you see top 100s on YouTube a lot, and but what was cool about this is it was a top 100 from 1997, and a great issue, little write-ups of each game. And anyways, so that's where I learned about Legendary Axe, because that was on the list, Blazing Lasers, and you know, Wise Book 1 and 2. And when I read the description of Wise, you know, E's book, I knew it's definitely something I wanted to seek out. So anyways, so started looking for TurboGrafx stuff. Again, in my area at the time, before internet, impossible, wasn't anywhere. But when, you know, stuff started becoming easy to buy and to find on the internet, that's when I finally tracked down a TurboGrafx setup. Actually a duo, Japanese duo that I bought from Japan. So that's how that started. But really, a combination of Funkoland back in the day and what's it called? Yeah, the EGM issue 100 really kind of set it off. And another thing I would say is being a Saturn only kid back then, because you really had to be like in the know with the Saturn stuff to get anything good. And it was kind of like, you know, similar to how you hear, like, you know, how people track the releases of the Neo Geo. I mean, not that extreme, but you know, good games on the Saturn were few and far between in America, and there's a lot of, you know, crap, and it was just kind of, you know, good to. Whoa! Almost lost it there. Anyways. So what was I saying? So yeah, so finding some good, you know, games that no one else knew about on the Saturn, you know, definitely encouraged me to. Oh, I killed the guy. Encouraged me to, like, you know, really dig deeper into, you know, different system libraries and track stuff down, because started to really kind of look at it as, you know, like a art form type of thing. So anyways, I'm about to eat shit here. Yeah. Unfortunately, I got the worst boss there is here, so that's game. So anyways, yeah, and definitely, you know, hunting for games locally got good and it got bad, you know. What does that mean? Well, I mean, the internet in the beginning was a great place to find lots of video games cheap. Locally, in the beginning, was a good place to find video games cheap. Friends, family, people that didn't want the stuff anymore. Yeah, people just kept gifting me stuff. I'd find stuff that was really cheap. But anyways, most of that stuff's dried up, and at this point I have, you know, mostly everything that I really want. So, you know, it is what it is. But anyways, so that's that. Had a bit of fun. Played a credit of Batrider. Almost cleared the normal course, but unfortunately the last boss there was Envy, and you know, he's about the worst one to draw of the three, if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, anyways, you know, tune in again in a month or so, and sorry for being slow on videos or whatever, but it is what it is. And thanks to my buddy CRT Cape for tagging me in another video. Hope this wasn't too boring for people, but anyways, if you're into the talkie stuff, this was the video for you. So, alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye bye.